How are you doing? I'm Martin from Gardens for Life and Birdland Homestead. So this is our 9th questions and answers session tonight. And usually these last for nearly an hour or so. And we'll see how many people we get joining today. So we'll just hang in there to see if anyone is joining with some questions. If you'd like to ask some questions, please just type question in all capital letters and type in your question after that so that I know that it's for me. So let's see. I had a few questions about. In a second now. I had some questions about. Hello, how are you doing? So I had some questions there about willows actually going brown, the leaves going brown, and I think the biggest problem you probably have is, and some of the other trees in the area too, they're only small trees yet, but I think it could be down to the drought, but I'm not sure, to be honest. It depends on what kind of compost you have, or if you put down a no-dig garden bed or grow space. Can you guys just confirm that you can hear me okay? And that the volume is okay? I can always turn it up or down a bit. And hopefully the volume is adequate. All right, thank you. So we are preparing for our Homesteaders of Ireland swap meet on Sunday, and I've been selecting plants already as prizes, and some as well just to bring in for people to take away. So we're going to have a lot of currants, and we have some gooseberries and some elderberry trees as well. And we've also got, how are you doing, Mike? So we've also got some seeds as well to bring this time. So basically the Homesteaders of Ireland swap meet is basically just for like-minded people to network and to meet one another, and also to take away some inspiration and seeds and cuttings and plants and whatever else people might be producing on their homestead. Last time we even got a sourdough start, and we got what else was there, Bianca? There was a kombucha start as well, and one other thing I don't remember. Kefir. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we've got lots of awesome homesteading products that are being swapped at this event, and we've been running these events for 3 years now. So this will be the 5th event, and it's been great. It's ever growing, and we really appreciate a lot of you guys actually showing up for it. And some people even drove probably 2 hours to get there. We had people from all the way from Wicklow, Sligo, of course, all the Midlands as well. Now, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for tuning in, Mike. I appreciate that. Please let me know if you have any questions about the event coming up on Sunday as well. So we'd like to develop that event into something more than just a seed and plant swap. And slowly but surely, we are going to be expanding the event and turning it into a little bit of maybe a one-day festival at first. And we're going to have guest speakers, and we're going to have given talks, and we're going to have workshops added as well. And maybe even vendors in the future. We'll see about changing venue to expand as well in the coming events. So we might actually host one of those events in September or thereafter. We'll see. But we'll definitely have a harvest festival as well, and that'll be another free community event, most likely hosted in the same place, so that people can bring in whatever they produced during the growing season. If you'd like to know more about the events that we have coming up, just go to gardensforlife.ie/events. Again, if you have any questions at all for me, or for maybe even for Bianca, maybe I can speak for her. She's here working away in the background about homesteading or gardening. That includes no-dig and forest gardening, and business, how to start a business, or home brewing, or even country winemaking. we can talk to you about that, and we can answer a lot of questions. Hopefully, we'll get some good questions that make us think about learning something new as well. We also are given a chicken course tomorrow, so chicken keeping. That'll be on tomorrow evening. And if you have any questions about keeping your own chickens for egg production, please let us know. We have not got any experience with meat birds, but we're happy to discuss it if you'd like to leave a comment. So again, any questions, just type it into the comments or on the chat and on whatever platform you're watching this. We are live on Facebook and a couple of YouTube channels and on Twitter as well. I still call it Twitter. I know he renamed it to X, but I think Elon Musk actually had to, every time he said the name of the company on X, formerly known as Twitter, well, then your branding is not great if you have to say that for a couple of years, just to get people used to it. So I have a question here. What's the best way to start a no-dig garden? So, well, first thing you got to do is not dig. That seems obvious, but it's true. You're keeping the existing soil structure, but you need to get rid of that cloth, that carpet of existing vegetation or weeds or grasses, whatever you want to call them. You got to tell nature, I don't want to grow those here. I don't want you to grow those here. I want to grow what I want to grow here for at least one season if I'm able to keep it up. So all you do is smother the existing vegetation. We'd usually put down plastic, black plastic, for 2 months in the summer or 6 months in the winter. You can do longer. You can do a year or even longer. It does no harm at all. And you can also use cardboard as well if you want to get started straight away. So you can put down the cardboard directly on the grasses and then add your good big thick layer of compost. If you can get mushroom compost, spent mushroom compost, that would be the best value for your money. You can get it for as little as 200 or 300 euro for a big trailer load, like 12 or 15 tons or something like that. And you can cover your garden with it after it's been matured for 3 or 4 months. So that's kind of the minimum period it takes for it to mature, and then you can get started straight away. But if you have time, if you're not planning on starting a new garden right now, or if you would like to expand your garden for maybe as a fall garden, like an autumn or winter vegetable garden, you can just smother the weeds now with plastic as well. And then you can reuse that plastic almost indefinitely. So I have a new, some new videos coming out now, a little video series on actually smothering the grass and putting down compost and wood chips as well to make it into a little bit of a forest garden or lasagna garden. So I have a question here. What recipes have we got for your sunchokes? So there is a number of different ways you can cook with them. The first thing, before you eat them, I have to always advise you to make sure you don't just pick them up, don't dig them up out of the ground and bring them straight to the kitchen and eat them, because otherwise you're going to know all about it, why they're also known as fartichoke. It's just the inulin in it. If you're not used to it, it's hard to digest. But it's very beneficial to your flora in your digestive system. But that's why overcooking it is not really beneficial, especially for the enzymes and all that. You're very little left in it at that point. I think you're much better off to just cure your Jerusalem artichokes or sunchokes in a place with light, like sunlight on a table in a greenhouse or a windowsill in the house. And then for 2 weeks, basically cure them in light. And then that breaks down the inulin. That makes them sweeter as well, turns the inulin into kind of a sugar. So then after that, you can cook them. You can make them, roast them or make chips out of them, roast them in the oven. That's our favorite way. Same as the okas as well. Mashuas are probably best eaten raw, I found. Like cooking them makes them very mushy. But oka and Jerusalem artichoke, they're fine when you cook them, but just don't overcook them because otherwise they're too mushy. So you gotta You can also make soup out of them. The most common thing people eat them actually in expensive restaurants nowadays is basically a soup where you, for the lack of a better term, boil them until there's very little left of them. And that's because they want to make sure that the inulin doesn't affect their customers dining in their fine establishment. So definitely start off with cured cured Jerusalem artichokes when you start cooking with them. But I always encourage you, just try to explore your own recipes. I mean, so I have another question here. I have my tomatoes inside. There is green fly on the plants. Help. So you have to always ask yourself, why does any pest, so-called pest, affect your plants? Why does it settle in and multiply? Like green fly, white fly, aphids, or even caterpillars, for that matter, or any of those. Well, in general, green fly and white fly and or any kind of little insects like that multiply quickly are on your plants because your plants are not healthy. Those plants' defense systems are actually down, and that's because they're probably lacking something. Maybe they're lacking minerals, or maybe they have not been watered enough, or maybe you have overwatered them. That means the roots cannot take up the water, and too much water actually stops the roots from being able to absorb water, because all plants, at least regular plants, take up water by osmosis, so in gas form. And if you, with the exception for willows and alder and mangroves, of course, and some other trees that can grow in pure water, like literally almost standing water. But in general, tomatoes have very thin leaves and they get affected by blight or pests very easily. Now, all blight is, as far as I know, is just a mold. We never had a blight on any of our potatoes grown outside. But I think, Marie, your tomato plants are most likely affected by aphids or by green fly, because they're weak and there's something wrong because they're being kept in an artificial environment in a greenhouse. Therefore, you have to supply all of its needs, like water, minerals, or food, all of those. You also have to supply the correct temperature, and a bit of wind would be nice for ventilation, so that you don't have any or less chances of blight. To be honest with you, growing things in the greenhouse, I don't do much of it anymore because it's just too much work. I prefer just growing everything outside. I might even try to grow tomatoes again outside, but you're better off with some stuff to grow those indoors. Same as peppers, of course, and figs and grapes. So those all do much better indoors, we found. You can grow them all outside. They'll do okay. Especially cherry tomatoes, you can get away with it if you have a dry summer. But if the problem is, if it keeps raining on the leaves, they'll go moldy eventually. Same as potato leaves, they're from the same family. So, do you have any advice on growing hazelnut trees? Yes, Mike. I haven't done it very successfully, but if you want to, you can buy them. They're expensive. They're also known as cob nuts, so the bigger ones. And you can get really good varieties now from Fruit Hill Farm, or wait, no, not Fruit Hill Farm, Future Forests in Cork and Bantry. They have some, and I bought some a couple of years ago now. Some of them didn't do too well, and they're expensive. They're about €30 a piece, 25 to 35 euro for one tree. And hazels, the way you multiply them is you let it grow. You make sure that there's not just one central leader. You want it to bush out from the bottom. So you cut that off straight away, let it bush out. And next year, so you have to plant it, let it bush out for 1 year. Then you build up soil around the bottom, or compost, or wood chips. I think it'll all work. But I would put some compost and a bit of a collar around the bottom, like made of wood. And you could scarify the wood, each of the little stems, before you do that. And then it'll root. Each of those stems will actually root slowly into the ground. And another year later, you can then cut those off after you remove the compost, the excess compost. And that's how you multiply your hazel without change in variety without planting it from a nut, or with the nut is basically, it has a seed inside it. So, but if you grow, a lot of nuts you can grow from seed as well. You could grow hazels from seed, but it's something new to me. I need to learn more about that. Of course, you can easily overcome stratification needs, which takes, basically you're simulating the winter. For 3 months, you need to keep the nuts, or the seeds for trees mostly, keep them cold and moist, so that it's kind of like it signals to the enzymes around the seed that it's winter. And then next time it gets warmer, the spring, it knows, it thinks it's spring basically, and then it starts growing the seed inside. So so what we do, we're growing some lime tree seeds now. Lime trees have lovely leaves, apparently. You can eat those, and I'm sure they'd be a great livestock tree as well. And I'm growing some of those now. I'm going to grow a few hundred of those, but I'm starting off with a smaller batch just to see if they'll germinate. But I cracked the husk open, same as a nut. You could crack them open, but it'll be hard enough to do without damaging the nut inside, the seed. And then you can, those will start growing straight away. You don't have to stratify them. So I think that's really important to note, because oftentimes people get disappointed trying to grow trees from seed and they just won't germinate. That's because the tree hasn't gone through a winter yet and it's not ready to germinate. So you could also put them into a bit of moss, moist moss, or even a tissue, and put them into a bag, like a freezer bag, and push all the air out, close it like a Ziploc bag, put them in the fridge, not in the freezer, in the fridge, for 2 or 3 months. Usually that's what it takes. And of course, I'm never patient enough, so you could also scrape the husk with a bit of sandpaper, or in the case of nuts, of course, you can crack them without damaging the nut inside. So does anyone have any other questions at all about forest gardening, no-dig gardening? I was just out there now pushing compost with a rake. The neighbor helped us move some of the compost at our bigger garden. We're expanding it a little bit, and we have moved about, I think, about 25 or 30 tons now, and we've got another couple of piles there ready to go, well-aged mushroom compost. So that's going to be our growing medium for this year. And of course, all the existing gardens are still there. It's just that they're mostly full of perennials at this stage, because in the first year we usually grow some annuals, could be vegetables or flowers or whatever. And then you have, we're always planting some perennial herbs or berry bushes or even fruit trees in between. And just so those kind of help to bring in the pollinators and the beneficial insects. That's why we also call those plants that flower for a long time insectaries. That means to attract beneficial insects by basically putting out flowers that have food in them, nectar. And then hopefully we can get those insects to overwinter. That is the goal of having wood chips on the ground. It really helps to bring in the beetles, and those eat slug eggs. So that helps an awful lot. And also our insect piles. So I must make a video about the insect piles in particular, because I've been pulling up an awful lot of creeping buttercup and grasses in the gardens that I should have really taken care of more last year. But I'm getting there. I'm cleaning up the gardens one little bit at a time, every day a little bit. And I pulled up so many creeping buttercups that my shoulder hurts now. It's actually just muscles though that are hurting for the last couple of days. So I need to take it easy. And basically, I was using this little rake here. Look at this. So I just happened to have it in here because I have a box here with all the things that I brought from the garden. But of course, the handle keeps coming off, so I just use it without it. And I must glue that on with some really good glue. And this will actually grab creeping buttercups, no problem whatsoever, very easily. And you can even, it kind of extends your arm too a little bit. So these tools, if you can ever find those somewhere, let me know in the comments, because these were from Lidl for $3.99. Very good. Definitely recommend these. So there's a question. How much time do you spend actually weeding across your garden? So in general, about an hour per month, but it's not enough. I wish I had spent a little bit more time 3 and 4 years ago doing that, because if I had been putting down more wood chips, if I need to replenish the wood chips in some areas of the garden where I put down wood chips like a lasagna garden, so to block the weed seeds from being blown in. And mainly it's the creeping buttercup, the dandelion, and silverweed. Not too bad now with wood chips, so that's not too bad. In general, I should probably spend. I have an acre and a half of gardens, and I think it's hard to say. Once I get it cleaned up, and once I get on top of it, I think I'm going to be able to get away with maybe 2 or 3 hours a week. Sorry, 2 or 3 hours a month should do the job. As unbelievable as that might sound, I think it's mostly down to the fact that I'm stopping. I've been scrambling, to be honest, for the last few years to try and stop weeds and grasses from going to seed nearby our gardens and the growing spaces. And of course, that's because in the beginning, it was all a field, most of it anyway. And when you start off, you're starting off with one corner and another and another. Year after year, I might do a couple of gardens a year. And so I'm kind of winning over ground. I'm reclaiming the ground, so to speak, even though it's pretty good farmland to begin with. Like, as in, there's grasses growing there, all right, but we don't want to eat grasses. We do like eating cows, but we don't have enough room for those. I think we can do better and be more productive with our little acre. So we have so near the house we have mostly perennial gardens, but a lot of the gardens actually basically turn into wood chip mulched gardens, and I'm thinking about going down that route because I don't want to have to maintain them too much. And I think basically planting perennials and cover the ground with compost and wood chips on top is the way to go if you're expanding your gardens beyond a vegetable garden, like for, say, growing annuals for your house, just for the kitchen, for example. We started off growing mostly annuals and some berry bushes. Couldn't have fruit trees because we were renting a house. But after that, we started doing all of the culinary herbs like oregano, thyme, rosemary, sage. Rosemary was hit and miss, but in general, the rest of them were actually very good, and they also attracted beneficial insects. And so we started planting more and more perennials. Then we figured out, holy motor, you can actually grow fruit bushes like currants or gooseberries from a cutting. You can just take a cutting with your secateurs, and you can just take a cutting and stick it in the ground, and it'll grow into a new plant. So after that, we were not worried about the birds eating all of our berries anymore. We simply outproduced the birds. So, which that means there was 10 blackbirds in the garden, so we just planted 300 currant bushes and loads of raspberries that self-replicate anyway. It's a cane plant, so it usually goes nuts in lasagna beds. So I think once you keep on top of your gardens and you don't let weeds go into seed, Mike, you'll be fine. If you have a garden in the middle of a big field, or if there's a lot of space around it with grasses growing, I'd highly recommend you get some really thick builder's plastic, or if you want to spend a little extra, you can get some tarps and just put those out, like black tarps. Put those out around your garden so that you're making a bit of a perimeter around your garden to kill off the grasses so they don't creep into your garden. That helps an awful lot. The soil loosener, okay, yeah. Yeah, I think I've seen those things before. Like, I know about broad forks, all right. Then there's this twisty thing, like kind of like a screw it's that size and a long handle, and you can actually twist out dandelions or the likes. I've seen those things, all right. But yeah, we have a chicken keeping workshop tomorrow. If anyone's interested, there's still a couple of spots. And we also have our Homesteaders of Arden swap meet on Sunday. So even if you have no seeds or plants or homesteading items or crafts to swap for, you're still very welcome to attend. It's a free community event. And if you'd like to watch videos of previous events, just take a look at our website. And you're very welcome to come along just to do a bit of network and to find some like-minded people, maybe even from your area. You never know. We often heard of people actually meeting each other, even though they're from an hour from where the venue is in Knockcrockery, County Roscommon. They actually basically met their neighbours from down the road. So that's great. That's what it's all about. And hopefully like-minded gardeners can then exchange both seeds, cuttings, plants, and maybe even skills and experience, and maybe even form work parties. You never know. So it's an idea, I think, probably from the US, or maybe even before that. Mehals in Ireland were probably, or mehals were always designed where different families come together, usually neighbours, and they help each other with the harvest. Like whatever needs to be done quickly, when people are under pressure, then they're able to help each other out and get the work done. And they help each other on different farms, or different gardens. Best way to get parsnips out. Okay. So does anyone have any questions about homesteading, gardening, business, home brewing? Let me know in the comments or in the chat. At the moment, we have 12 people watching. The number always goes up and down a lot, especially when I'm like 45 minutes or an hour into these. You get more and more people joining, but at some point I'm going to have to call it a night, because we can't have these going on for 2 hours. That's why we try to send out an email when we have a live stream coming up. It's every Thursday at 9 p.m. So for anyone watching this now, or if you're watching this afterwards, after it's gone live, you can join us next time, next Thursday at 9 p.m. You can always email us questions as well to contact@gardenforlife.ie beforehand if you can't attend the live sessions. Is there willow available? There is not really, no. The willow season is finishing, and we just have very few left now at this point, almost none at all. So willow will be available again in our winter pre-sale, winter selection pre-sale in August. So then you can buy it beforehand, so that you can secure it well in advance, so that before it sells out, because willow cuttings always sell out. The hybrid willow or biomass willow, it's definitely one of those plants that's just super efficient to grow. So what would you use to combat slugs? We choose not to have a combat, not to fight the slugs. We choose to, so what was it? The best way to win a battle is to not turn up, to not go at all. We just ignore the slugs. Basically, if you have a healthy seedling grown in a greenhouse on a table with a dry floor, so that your water doesn't drip down onto the floor, and your seedlings are healthy, and the slugs have a very hard time getting into the greenhouse in the first place, you put those plants, when they're fully grown and matured as a seedling, plant those directly out into your no-dig garden beds or your grow space, and hopefully you will have built those garden beds, and you will have been feeding those garden beds every year with an inch of compost, and that will help to feed the soil life. And when your soil life is healthy and your plants can absorb all of the minerals, like you want to add some volcanic rock dust or seaweed dust to your aged mushroom compost, for example, if you can avail of it where you are, you can your plants then can make that avail of all the minerals through all the bacteria and the soil life that make it available to them. So a healthy soil life, no-dig gardening, lots of fertility, lots of minerals in the soil, a seedling, a good strong seedling. When plants are healthy, slugs don't go after them. Slugs are just cold temperate climate recyclers. They go after stressed plants whose defenses are down. So all plants have defenses. They're all poisonous. They produce chemicals because they've got no legs to run away when a predator comes, aka a plant-eating animal. So yeah, no, that's it. So in general, grow perennials as well. That helps a lot to not worry about the slugs. Or you can send the chickens in as well. The chickens will clean up the place. But be careful because the chickens will eat everything, even the vegetables that you like to eat. What other workshops have you got coming up? So we do have a homestead introduction coming up, all right, and we will be having a pressure canning class as well. So we haven't got that on the website yet, but we'll be announcing that shortly. And there is the chicken workshop tomorrow as well. But there's also going to be no-dig gardening, how to grow food using no-dig gardening. But almost nothing new now, Mike, for you guys. You guys have attended all of our workshops, I believe. But we will be also doing a practical version of the Homestead introduction course here on our Homestead soon. But we just need to plan that a little bit more. So yeah, well, in Ireland, the slugs are a real problem because it is a wet country, and what you call, oh, why are the dogs barking? Probably also don't throw. The way to reduce, so I'll give you 3 quick points on how to reduce slug pressure. So again, grow healthy plants in a healthy soil, okay? So they grow quickly and healthily, and then the slugs can't keep up with them. Number 2 would be not to drop dead plant matter on the ground, like weeds or leaves off your vegetables. Don't drop those on the ground. Put those somewhere else, like throw them to your chickens if you have chickens. I find that chickens are great at getting rid of weeds and any kind of dead plant matter, and that way, as in even whatever kale or whatever kind of leaves you have in the garden, you can get the chickens to recycle those. But also the main thing is if you throw those on a compost pile, they'll come back again. When you throw them in a chicken pen, the weeds don't come back. And the other thing you can do is not leave habitat, not create habitat for your slugs by leaving, say, bits of wood around, like raised beds are terrible for that, or bits of plastic or wood. They'll go underneath for the day, and then they come out at night. So just have we do no-dig grow spaces with just compost and a little sprinkle of wood chips on the paths, with no rocks and no wood around and no plastic in general. Of course, if you're on the outside of your garden, you can you can cover the weeds, can be covered with plastics just to get rid of them, because I think the weed pressure is worse than the slug pressure in most cases. I'm afraid I have no advice, Regina. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us. I have no advice on kombucha. I don't know anything about it yet. So we are only learning about those things, and even sourdough starts as well. We'd like to make bread someday. We still have an electric oven, unfortunately, which is good for keeping the correct temperature, but we would prefer a gas oven, and we're going to upgrade soon. I've heard of market gardeners using silage wrapping for smothering the weeds on the ground. The only problem is I don't know how long it'll last for. You're saying here you are using it for, so silage wrap for years works very well. Farmer has to pay to have polythene recycled. So yeah, that's right, yeah. In Roscommon County, anyway, there's a service for that, and they just get rid of it once a year. I wouldn't call it recycling. I'd say I don't think they can recycle it, to be honest, but I'd say it's probably all being shipped off somewhere to some country far away and being burnt for electricity, like most of the plastics in the West. Let me see here. So April is saying 2 things I do are pine boughs around your garden perimeter, and toads of water, they get in and drown. Okay, so yeah, no, you can kill the slugs by having like a beer trap, where you just have like a container with some beer in it, and then the slugs go into it and drown. We don't even bother with any of that. If you're talking about a bigger scale, you could also have get a little flock of Indian runner ducks, which are not easily available. They're not very available in Ireland, but you could use those and send them around, especially at night time. If you bring them out with a flashlight, a big flashlight, you can get them to eat all your slugs. We don't even bother, to be honest. We have mostly our perennials. The slugs don't eat the perennial, like the trees, the shrubs, the berry bushes. What I mean by that, even the rhubarb plants. All those plants, they're building on last year's root system year after year, and they're not bothered by the slugs at all. So it doesn't really matter. When you do perennial gardening, like we have upgraded years ago now, just experimenting with it for about 8 years now, I've been trying to figure out how to make the garden less and less and less maintenance, simply because I don't want to spend 90% of my time maintaining an existing area. And like I said, Mike, I think it's best to make it as low maintenance as you can, so you can spend your time harvesting and planting instead. So those are much more enjoyable activities, rather than just having to clean it all the time, like weeding. So, you know, at the moment, I'm doing a year worth of weeding in like 2 weeks. So, and I'm not even doing it many hours, only like, say, maybe 2 or 3 hours a day, just for maybe a week or two. So that's all I'm doing at the moment. I'm hoping, I think that should do it. That should clean up all of the gardens. So we have just opened the first bacon can jar, and it was delicious. Learned it at your homesteading workshop. Well, thank you, Mike, for letting me know. Yeah, no, we actually pressure canned bacon as well, and we raw packed it. So and the best thing is, when you take it out of the jar with a fork, it just it ends up as one lump inside it, surrounded by the liquid. So it really concentrates the flavor, because all of the water is boiled off, but it stays in the jar. And the bacon is good for ages, literally for years. We like to use it, just take some of it out of the jar and put it in your frying pan and squish it, so that it kind of, just to separate a little bit. And it kind of has the texture of tuna, but it has the bacon flavor. So imagine bacon flavored tuna with no fish taste. I mean, it's really nice, and it goes very well on a burger, actually, as a matter of fact. And by the way, Mike, if you'd like to know which ones are the best burgers locally in Roscommon, at least in the area, we've tried all kinds of different butchers, and it's the one in Abbey Street. That's the butcher there. He makes the best burgers. And if you put some of that, pressure can bacon after frying it in the frying pan for a few minutes with butter, you can add that onto your burger, and it's really good. Or just eat it with eggs. But it goes a long way when you think about it. A jar like that, you put a kilo of bacon into it, you pressure can it for 90 minutes after you bring it up to temperature, and basically it'll be fine for a week in the fridge after you open the jar, I think, anyway. No problem at all, a week. What do you do with your mallow plants? Which mallows? Is that the marshmallow you're talking about? I assume so. There's also wood mallow and zebra mallow. They're mostly just flowers. Wood mallow have edible, all the mallows are edible anyway, but wood mallow has edible leaves and flowers, and it's a great addition to any salad. However, yes, marshmallow. So the leaves are great for tea, for a rough throat. They have mucilage in them, and they help to line your digestive system a little bit. Kind of like, what's the name of that again, Bianca? Slippery elm. That's the one. So it has a similar effect, but a mild effect. It also has a calming effect on your digestive system, kind of like fennel. So marshmallow is really good for that and for the leaves. Of course, you can make actual marshmallows, the sweet, from the roots, which is what they used to do. before we had commercial butchering. Like now marshmallows have all kinds of other things in them, who knows what. But I mean, personally, I wouldn't butcher up a plant just to get at the roots to make some marshmallows. I mean, we might try it one time, but we do always enjoy having the marshmallow plants in the garden. Of course, it's a herbaceous perennial, and that means it dies back to the ground every year. And you end up with all these stalks that you can use to make an insect pile. So that's great. So Regina says, only started using mushroom compost. Are you growing straight into it, or you mix it with anything else? We use pure mushroom compost, but it needs to age for at least 3 months. In general, it's just too acidic in the beginning. It's too hot. You could grow rhubarb in it immediately, but you don't have to mix anything into it afterwards once it's been matured for at least 3 months. 6 months is better. A year is even better. Of course, it only increases in value. Compost is alive. Compost is living capital. So it's a really good investment. If you have some extra fiat sitting there in your bank account that you'd like to, say, a couple of €100 or €300, you could buy a load of compost and just leave that compost there, even if you're not going to use it this year. And just it'll only improve in value, or increase in value, and improve in quality over time. So mushroom compost is also greatly added, or you can add minerals to it in the form of volcanic rock dust. A little sprinkle will be fine. A bag for €15 from Fruit Hill Farm in Cork will do you for 100 square meters. So that's quite a big area, kind of like the pizza garden back in the day. There's a question here. Chris, hello, how are you doing? Thanks for coming back again. When making a plant business from home, is it necessary to register with any organizations? Of course, the Department of Making You Sad is making you register. So depends on what country you're in. If you're in Ireland, you just need to register with, you have an obligation to register with the Department of Agriculture. That's all there is to it. It's basic enough, but you know, it's all regulations, and it's all putting your name on a list, and that's all there is to it. Again, I think it's kind of more difficult. Growing plants is easy if you know how to do plant propagation. You don't even have to go into the harder things to grow. You can just grow the basic stuff first and then try to sell it. The only trouble is, how do you know what will sell? So you got to grow a variety of things anyway. And you got to build up an audience. Either you got to tap into an existing market in business, or you got to create your own market. So if there is nobody looking for a certain type of plant or whatever yet, like oca, mashua, and all those tuberous vegetables that we like to sell back in the day, even nobody even knew about them except for permaculture folks, and that's how we found out about them actually. So I would suggest basically figure out what you would like to grow, and what kind of plants would you like to have more of. Let's say if you want to expand your garden. I was just expanding the garden, and I was just growing extra plants for myself. And some of those, you know, they were sometimes people were looking for plants. So we have no experience with dandelion coffee. We've never made it before. So I'm afraid we don't know. Well, I heard you can apparently make coffee from a lot of different roots of native plants, at least native to the US and Europe, such as dandelions and docks. Well, I think maybe people were just looking for that kind of little bit of a, like when coffee wasn't available, maybe during the war, the Second World War, for example. I guess that's probably where it all came from. People just were too poor to either afford the real coffee made from coffee beans imported from some country that's very warm around the equator. But maybe people were just looking for an alternative too. Nowadays, I think you're much better off if you're looking to cut out caffeine. You could just drink shaga mushroom tea instead of coffee. So shaga is very good. It's actually healthy, like most of the fungi for you, and also it kind of has the exact same texture as coffee. It's pretty good, I have to say. In fact, one time I gave my wife Bianca, who is listening here and managing the comments in the background, I gave her a Shaga mushroom coffee, and she actually liked it. She thought it was nearly just as good as regular coffee. So yeah, giving up caffeine is hard when you're used to it. Definitely don't drink too much of it. When you are able to drink it before you go to sleep and still sleep, I think you need to reduce your coffee intake at that point to 1 per day maximum. So folks, we are 45 minutes into it. Please let me know if you have any questions, especially about Sunday. So we have our seed and plant swap, or our Homesteaders of Ireland swap meet on Sunday, this Sunday, the 12th of May, 2024, here in Knockcrockery, Roscommon, County Roscommon, Ireland. I have to say the year and the country, because we have an international audience here, and maybe people are watching this later as well. So if you'd like to find out more information about our Homesteaders of Ireland swap meet, go to our website, and there's some videos as well. So you can find out more about it there. Basically, you can bring seeds and plants and some raffle prizes or whatever kind of homestead craft or even arts craft that you produce yourself at home, and you can swap it with people, or you can just donate it, and you can take whatever you like from the tables as well. So it's just an honesty system, and we are very happy that people are taking all of the seeds. Last time there was hundreds and hundreds of packets of seeds on the tables. I have some pictures of it actually. I couldn't believe the amount of packets of seeds there was, like maybe even 500 packets, and they were almost all gone by the end of it. So people were all going home with plenty of seeds, both flowers, vegetables, maybe even fruits, and also cuttings as well. This time it'll probably not be cuttings. I might have some cuttings now, but I'm actually picking up a whole lot of plants now at the garden. I'm selecting all the ones I'm going to bring on Sunday already. And it's going to be probably a lot of red currants actually, and some of the old plants that I have in pots that I just don't have space for. And that's really why I kind of, well, one of those reasons why we started the seed and plant swap, because we just have so many plants that we have in excess of, and even cuttings. Sometimes we just have to cut plants back, and it would be a shame for all those cuttings like jostaberry or blackcurrant. It'd be a shame for all those cuttings to go to waste. We'd rather give them to people than not use them, if you know what I mean, rather than them ending up in the brush pile. The air code, sure, it's on our website. Just go to our website. It's /events, and from there, at the very top, there's a link for the swap. I can actually, hold on, I'm just going to bring you into the, hang on. I'm going to give you access to my tabs now. There you go. Can you see that? You can. So let me just take a look here. What's new? So this is the Homesteader swap meet. There's a little quick announcement about it. You can click here. And there's a video of it. And you can see, I'm just going to turn off the sound here for now. I'm going to just show you this real quick. If I can find it. There you go. So you can kind of see there. It's a hall with a lot of people having a chat and getting some seeds. So there's all the details there. Look, F42EN12 is the air code. So again, if you're looking for the details, if you're coming to our homepage, gardensforlife.ie, and then you can always click on events on top, upcoming events, or you can scroll down and you can go to upcoming events here. And then you can click on the top, and then you get this. So there's also videos of previous events here. So as I said, we have been hosting these events for a couple of years now. Yeah, take a look at that. Oh, I see. I beg your pardon. I see I've been opening new tabs and you couldn't see that. So sorry now. So here you go. You can see all the details here from the top of the events page. So you can, there's the error code again, F42EN12. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Again, so yeah, from the events page, I can't show you that now because it's actually a kind of link that opens up in a new page, a new tab. So directly from the events page, you can go to our swap meet page and you can find out more there. Thank you, Bianca. That's the address. So again, for those of you who just joined, that address on the screen there is actually for our Homesteaders of Ireland swap meet this Sunday from 12 to 5. And we encourage you to come in right around the middle of the event because that's when we're having our raffle at 3:30. You bring any fig plants? I'm afraid I don't have any extra fig plants yet. I might have some cuttings if you're interested. I can give you a couple of cuttings if you'd like to try and root them yourself. I'm not that good at rooting fig cuttings yet, but I believe it's supposed to be quite easy. But I think you probably need to use potting compost and not let them dry out as well. And it takes 2 or 3 months to root a cutting, but once they do, they're fairly reliable. We found that of all the fig varieties that we have about 5 varieties. Of course, the most common variety is brown turkey, and it's easy to grow. You can even grow it outside as well. Desert King is very good. Black Mission and Persian Black as well. So those are all good. Let me know, Mike, if you want me to bring you a couple of cuttings. I can get you brown turkey anyway if you want to try and grow that. You best plant fig indoors down in a greenhouse because it loves the heat. It grows twice as fast indoors as it does outdoors. And it fruits way more as well. Probably fruits twice as much at least. Our figs in the greenhouse, sure, I'll bring you some, yeah. Our figs in the greenhouse up the road at the big garden are doing really well, and they're growing too many figs, actually. They have like literally 25 figs per tree, and the tree is only about 1 meter tall. And I think that's because people are often wondering, oh, do you restrict the roots of a fig tree? Is that how you make it fruit, to put it under stress? Because if you don't put a tree under stress, it'll never go to seed. It'll just do too well. I think we've not been watering our trees there in the middle of the greenhouse enough. That's why they're fruiting so much. I think that's definitely, unfortunately, it's causing the tree a lot of stress, and but it's putting on a lot of fruits. We would, of course, prefer cuttings so we can grow more trees, which we'd like to plant everywhere on our property. And we're going to get there. We're going to grow a lot more fig trees this year. And we also have some apple trees that we grafted 2 years ago. And those, we might dig up some of those and actually spread those throughout our property as well. Grafting trees is a lot of work. Have you tried drying figs? I have not. We just eat them fresh because they're way better fresh. We can buy dried figs in shops. There's really almost no point. Unless you have a big fig tree and you have way too many figs to eat fresh, I would probably still freeze them before I dry them. I don't think in Ireland you could dry them with one of those, not a dehydrator, but a dryer, where you just hang it up in a greenhouse, for example, with different levels, like a net kind of frame. Yeah, so we usually dry flowers in those. I think you'd have to use an electric dehydrator to dry fruit like that. So Jory's asking casual workshops. So basically, I'm asking people, anyone that has any skills that you think that other people might benefit from, if you'd like to give a casual workshop, as in just basically answer questions people might have or teach people the basics of the thing, whatever the skill might be. could be even no-dig gardening. I might even run a workshop on chicken keeping and growing food using no-dig and forest gardening. So I'm going to run those. But what I basically mean is throughout the event, we have another room, basically, in the kitchen area. There is plenty of space there for people to actually just run these casual workshops. And if anyone's interested in learning about a particular skill that's being made available, then people can just participate for free, of course. It's a free event. It's a community event. Basically, just to give new people an idea, to give them a little bit of an insight into the skill of chicken keeping, for example, or whatever the skill might be. So let me see here. Well, that's easy. When the fig falls off the tree, it's definitely ripe. Ask me how I know. And of course, you can pick them beforehand, but they just need to be very soft. So you can feel if the fig is really soft, it'll come off the tree really easily. And then you can just pick it and eat it. If you pick it when it's not soft, it's going to be hard and it's not going to be sweet. Now, let me see here. We've got Ballyhonus Community Gardens watching from Facebook. Would the workshops be at your garden? No, they'll be at the community hall. So everything is going to be hosted at the event, but we're going to use the main hall for the swap meet and the raffle, and people, and for, of course, for having chats and cups of tea and coffee and a bit of cake. And we're also going to have the kitchen area as well. And it's quite a large room. I think it's about 8 by 8 meters or so. And we have plenty of room there to basically a bit more of a quiet space compared to the hall. The hall itself, where loads of people are chatting away, it sounds a bit like a pub without music. So you'll have a lot more opportunity there, kind of separate from the crowd, to teach people whatever skill you might want to teach people. So we can bring in some pages, and we can basically, we might even have some spare tables or even chairs that we can set up for people, and we can write out a label on the day when we basically find out what people actually want to teach. If you have any ideas, or if you want to host a bit of a workshop, basically you just talk about the basics of a certain skill or topic, you can just email us to contact@gardensforlife.ie, or just turn up on the day and we'll talk to you about it then. Just let us know. We might start giving workshops in other places, like at community gardens. Yeah. We haven't set that up on our website yet, but if you're interested in us hosting a workshop or even a course at your community garden, for example, let us know. Just send us an email to contact@gardensforlife.ie, and we'll send you back a list of things that we would need and what the fee would be. It depends on how far away it is. It depends on how many hours it is and what topic it is as well. In general, we don't mind. We do workshops here ourselves, both at our gardens and at community halls as well, like public venues. We've done them in libraries as well. We've done them with Leader as well also. So we were hosting workshops, for example, a 5-hour workshop would be a very long workshop. So that would be set up for homesteading, the basics of homesteading, basically, introduction. You can also do 2-hour workshops as well, growing food using no-dig gardening and forest gardening, for example. That's something we can do in other locations. We can also do canning as well, but that depends on, we have some requirements for the kitchen if it is done in a commercial kitchen. We also can do country winemaking workshops in other locations as well. So let us know if you're interested, and we might even set up a little section on our website for that purpose in the near future. Now we are an hour into it. I can't believe how quickly time flies. Thank you all for being here and for listening and for throwing in some ideas as well and asking questions. We highly appreciate your input. We want to use these questions and answer sessions as a way of communicating with our audience and giving you a chance to participate in what we do. So if you'd like to come to our events, just go to our website, gardensforlife.ie/events. We have a number of workshops coming up, courses, and our free community event, the Homesteaders of Ireland Swap Meet on the 12th of May. So if you missed that one, you can watch the videos of it if you're watching this video afterwards. And you can also watch all of the previous events, videos on our website as well. Thank you, Vanessa and Mike, for joining us. We highly appreciate it. And we'll see you on Sunday. I was already talking to a number of people that are going to be attending. Unfortunately, some people are not able to attend, but we're probably going to get a lot of people turning up anyway. And we will see you on Sunday. Bye-bye. Bye, Regina.